Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of P2G Live. For those of you who've tuned in for the very first time, my name is Majid Waris, and I'm the host. And tonight, we have another special guest with us. As you know, we always bring guests on the show where we have some good value to share with potential new business owners, existing business owners, connoisseurs even who are experienced business owners, where we can always try to learn something different, something new from people who are professionals within different respective fields. Tonight, we have a fellow sales professional who goes by the name of Tom Mallens. Welcome to P2G Live, Tom.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Excellent. Now, Tom is also in the sales profession, and I'm very much excited about listening to Tom. He comes highly recommended, and a lot of people have very positive words to say about you. And we're always learning from each other, aren't we?
Exactly.
Generally in business and in life. So tonight we're going to listen to Tom and some things about his experiences, about his do's and don'ts, his top tips even. And on that note, if you have any questions for Tom or myself related to the sales field, let's keep it on topic. Do put them in the comments section. Our lovely assistant, Brad Edwards, behind the camera, will be writing them down and passing them over to us, and we'll answer them for you towards the end of the program. So, without further ado, Tom, thanks again for being here in Birmingham at the head office of Pathway Group.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent.
It's a lovely office, by the way.
Thank you very much. Tom, before we get into the technical stuff and the subject that we're going to cover today, can you, or would you mind just sharing a little bit about yourself and how you actually got into this, the sales field, and what it is that prompted you or take an interest even in this field?
Yeah, so what got me into sales, I think the same thing that gets everyone into sales, desperation and the lack of other viable career options. You know,
Okay.
No one I've ever met grows up and thinks, I want to work in sales. You know, that's the job for me. I want to be a salesperson. They want to be a lawyer or a doctor or a policeman or an astronaut or whatever it is. How I got into it, I had a job. I was a journalist. I was editor of a magazine. I felt that I wanted to progress, you know, up the career opportunity ladder. There was nowhere to go in the company. I got this idea in my head, I want to work for myself because that will solve all my problems. I'll be my own boss, decide how I'll work. And I thought, well, the best way to do that is going to go to university, learn about business, and then set my own business up. Went to uni, spent a small fortune going through that, came out, set up my own business. It was a manufacturing sales agency business, so we were selling sort of specialty raw materials from Switzerland and Italy into the UK market. Rapidly learned that despite having supposedly studied business for a year, rapidly learned I knew nothing about business, and that, you know, all the skills I'd learned up until that point were pretty useless. I rather naively thought, well, it's got to be simple. You just ring up these companies, speak to the MD. They're going to be interested in these products, these specialty copolyamide adhesives. They're going to say, "Come in, Tom. We'll buy some. You know, here's the order." I was going to be really rich, and a massive reality check. And that's gradually what led me bit by bit to think, well, there's got to be a better way. You know, and also I think importantly, there's got to be some skill here that can be developed so I can overcome this persistent problem, which for me was people saying, no, we don't take cold calls. No, we've got a no-name policy. No. Can you send some information into our info@email address? We'll take a look at it. We'll get back if we're interested. You know, and so it came from there, really.
How long were you doing that before, you know, you realized, hang on, you know what, I need to do something different?
Too long. I guess like a lot of things, you sometimes, I don't know if anyone else has experienced this, you kind of get into a groove and you start to identify with a job and you get that mentality, I'm going to find a way to just keep doing what I do. I'm going to do more of it, and I'm going to do it more and harder and better. And somehow that will save me, rather than just reevaluating completely. Maybe
the definition of insanity from Einstein, isn't it? You know, the definition of insanity being doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did the same thing for too long. But
I think a lot of people do, don't they?
Yeah.
A lot of business owners do. They get into any kind of, I think any kind of business we as business owners ourselves, we're very ambitious about the business product or service, and we have faith in what we have to offer. But I think that's not usually enough, is it? I mean, it's like individually. I mean, here's the thing: with sales, people think it's a commercial thing or it's a commercial skill. Yeah. But it's a life skill.
Absolutely.
You know, it's something that we do on a day-to-day basis. You and I having a conversation, it might be something I say, which is selling myself to you. And whether it's consciously or subconsciously with any kind of agenda or not, I think generally in life, we're all selling in some way, shape or form.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that was a big realization for me when I realized that this wasn't really a business skill. It was certainly never taught well when I was at uni. There's a module on sales, but when I realized that, you know, this is just a life skill about communication and helping other people solve a problem in a way that produces a win-win outcome. Yeah. You know, a solution for them that helps them, and a win for me or whoever the salesperson in, which is usually money. Yeah. And I think that's really important, that it's that win-win outcome. You know, everyone benefits when sales is done well. Absolutely. When it's done badly, either no one benefits or one person benefits. And then there's a really big, it's very unequal. You know, either the salesperson's made way too much money off it and the person feels taken advantage of, or, and this happens as well, the customer's been massively overserviced. You know, they've had the best possible solution, and the salesperson, especially if you're a small business owner, feels a bit resentful. Absolutely. Maybe they won't admit that. Sometimes they won't admit it themselves. But
absolutely, it's a typical question I ask whenever I'm delivering sales training. And the first question I ask is, when you think of the word salesman, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? You know, traditionally, it's pushy, sleazy, you know, all the negative things that people have in their minds when they think of the word or just the name, the title salesman. You often see a lot of people changing their titles just so they don't have to say salesman.
Business development manager.
Typical one. That's a very common one in fact.
It's still code.
It's a respectable. But it's as though you're saying that salesman isn't a respectable title. But you know what? I came across somebody, I think it was last year, they said, stop, if you're in sales or you're training in sales, stop saying you're going to train people or you're going to show people to sell without selling. But I kind of disagreed with that because their argument was, if you're telling people that kind of thing, then you're assuming, or there's a connotation there that selling is a dirty word or it's a bad thing, but be proud that you're a salesperson. And I get that. I understand that. The problem or the challenge is when you've got people who are traditionally selling or selling in the traditional sense where it's cutthroat, it's down people's throats, and it's the sell features and benefits. I'm going to get you this, I'm so good, that kind of thing. And because generally when you're selling to people, people feel like it's almost like a battle of the minds, isn't it? It's a constant battle. But the best way to sell is to have a conversation and just consult, and you'd feel that the prospect is actually feeling a lot more relaxed and open to your questions.
Absolutely. This is the interesting bit, because certainly when I first went into business and then went out into the world of sort of business networking, a lot of people say, oh, you shouldn't sell, don't sell, I just listen. I don't sell, I just listen. And, that's fine. But then the issue is, and I think this is a reality that, very often, you want to make some money in sales. You've got a great product you believe in, and it's fine to listen. But if you just listen, the danger is you just end up having a nice chat with someone.
You become an infomercial.
You just and they go, oh, this is great, thank you for the therapy session. Or you put yourself in this position where you feel that you have no control over your business, and it's just a case of someone comes, oh, I'm interested in what you do. You ask them a load of questions, have a bit of a nice chat, and they go, okay, thank you, and they go. And you're thinking, well, should I follow up? I've heard you follow up. Should I chase them? And then I'll feel bad about myself because I'll feel like a pest and a nuisance. But if I don't sell, if I don't follow up, if I'm not persuasive, I maybe feel good about myself because I'm thinking, oh, I'm not being salesy. But you feel you feel like you've got no control.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just at the whim of someone deciding whether they'll do it or not. And I think there's a problem there as well.
Definitely. I think what happens is, I mean, somebody said this not too long ago. They said, you know what, you can either sell or you can't. It's a part of your personality. And I've come across that. And I think depending on what you're selling would depend on how true that statement is.
Yeah.
I think some people have a natural gift of being very flamboyant and very, you know, ostentatious in their presentation and selling a product, especially if it's a physical product, which is tangible. With tangible products, you can see what you're getting. The prospect can see it. I started off in door-to-door sales, and that was many, many years ago, and it's cold calling. And there was an element of that which was kind of imposed on me, that you've got to be very flamboyant and stuff like that. But I was quite the opposite. I was quite counterintuitive even back then. Hence, I was the lead salesperson and won so many awards because I was still consulting. Then I was very indifferent to the prospect because they were expecting me to be selling to them, which I wasn't doing. But that in itself, if you've got a product, from my experience, your sales style can be different. It can be the tell sell. But when you've got a service, or you're or selling some kind of a consultancy service or a legal service or any service, then it's a very different ball game. You know, there's a difference between selling pens and pads and selling multi-million-pound contracts, you know, in consultancy services. It's a completely different style.
Oh, absolutely. So I think I've certainly experienced it myself, and I think it maybe rings true to a lot of people. It's just conceptually, they want to know what are they trying to achieve with the sale. So, you know, I think as you talk about the traditional approach is, well, you're trying to influence them to take a decision, and you want the influence to result in them deciding to buy from you. That's what sales should be about. And that's when you get the persuasive, you know, features and benefits. I'll go on, and some people are comfortable with that. Some people, potential customers, really don't like it. There's a lot of friction. So the flip side, so the big shift in my thinking was, well, what if actually don't care about the outcome? You can care about two things: getting to the truth. You know, what is the truth? Is this going to help them? How is it going to help them? What's the actual reality of whether this is going to work, irrespective of whether that's in your interests or not? If the truth is that this isn't going to work for them, it's not the right thing, then that's fine. You've done your job as a salesperson in getting to the truth. And the other thing is helping people take a decision. And I'm as guilty of this as anyone. Most people are terrible at taking decisions. That's why they say, I want to think about it. They're not going to think about it.
They're not.
They don't sit there at home, like get home from work. They put strictly on the TV. They're not thinking about your proposal. You know, so I don't know if you've experienced it. A lot of people that are sort of successful in business, a lot of them are very, very good at taking decisions.
Absolutely.
Even if the decision is the wrong decision. But they take a decision, they learn, they move forward.
Yes, exactly. I 100% agree with that. I think there are some instances where if you've not set up a meeting correctly in the first place, there's some prerequisites. You could do a lot of social media activity, which we're going to come to in a second. But if the meeting hasn't been set up correctly from the beginning, with the rules kind of set out from the beginning, to an extent, because sometimes you can't do that. You've got to feel it out. And there's a lot of intuition that plays into this. And it's not all a rational decision-making process. There's a lot of intuition in sales. And I think it's a lot to do with personalities as well. The choice of language, you know, the choice of words. Everything has to do. But if the meeting hasn't been set up from the beginning, there may be a chance that we could walk into a meeting, talk to a prospect. They have several business partners who weren't present, and they genuinely have to think about it, but at least discuss it with them. But the smarter salesperson or the smarter business person will try and set that meeting where he gets them in the room before he gets there.
Absolutely.
And so that he can, for his own benefit, and say it clearly, you know. I prefer not to attend such meetings. Or maybe that's a bit strong in some cases, but you can say I prefer it if everybody who's involved in the key decision-making process is there, because often what happens is you may pose a question later on behalf of them, or you may not be sure of an answer. It just makes it easier for myself. It makes it easier for you. And also gives me the assurity that there's commitment from both sides, or whatever we decide to do.
Absolutely.
But coming to that, before we get into the meeting, I mean, up until around, I'd say 15, 20 years ago, things were different. You could call somebody up, you could cold call, you could try and arrange meetings. And things were different in the way you sold things, even services. 15, 20 years ago, since the advent of social media, things have changed. You can now get into the inbox of the decision makers through social media activity, as you well know. So we could deploy strategies before going into a meeting to make that meeting a bit more relaxed and engineered in a way which is going to be working better for both parties. Now, social media, lead generation, that's not my forte. That's yours. This is what you've been doing for the past 5 years or so, right? So, Tom, talk us through your experience of the use of social media in a sales context, and how you have seen people doing things, what's worked well, and what to try and avoid if possible.
Okay. So I'll preface this by saying that, you know, my views on this have changed over the years.
Wish they would do,
I think it was Osho who said, you know, if you never contradict yourself and change your mind, it shows you never learned anything.
All right.
So, you know, I've certainly changed my views over the years. But in essence, in terms of what works on social media, so nothing beats being face to face. In terms of rapport, your ability to get to the truth, your ability to uncover information, all these kind of things. So second sort of best on the phone, you know. Another step back, social media, LinkedIn, huge fan of them, really, really helpful. I think conceptually we have to remember, or I would certainly advise, that, you know, this is, generally speaking, most of the people I've worked with, or most of the people companies have been involved with, you know, the social media exists to set up a phone call, and the phone call exists to set up a meeting. And that when you're on social media, the tendency might be you think your products and services are fantastic, you want to tell the world about them. Not everyone is going to share that opinion, rightly or wrongly. But where the biggest value is selling the phone call, is persuading people on LinkedIn, on social media, that a phone call is essentially a risk-free, genuinely valuable next step. So from their point of view, it reduces risk. They're going to invest maybe a few minutes in an initial phone call. From your point of view, you're also lowering your risk of just giving away your time on, like you said, pointless meetings. LinkedIn is just a fantastic place to find and identify the people you want to speak to, and have that initial communication that that establishes, is this worth a quick phone call? So, you know, you've got your profile, you've got on LinkedIn, and your profile, you set out what you're about, what kind of people you help. With your messages and the content you post there, you've got also that opportunity to establish what kind of person you are, what kind of problems you solve, showcase your expertise, show that you add value, and show that an initial phone call is going to be a good and valuable next step. And from those people, you know, then you can take things forward. I think that the flip side is, you know, you try and use it to persuade people to buy from you. Which, you know, you're essentially going down the marketing route, or you know, automated marketing, and that's fine. But in terms of business opportunities, you're only going to be sold. You're only ever going to get business then from people that are already sold.
Interesting. You mentioned some very key things there. Things like having the profile, the way your profile is set up, and getting your messaging strategies right, and demonstrating your expertise or showcasing your expertise. If we pick up on these three things in particular, what are the some of the things that you've seen on LinkedIn or observed on LinkedIn from your clients, or generally while looking at someone's LinkedIn profile, that we should maybe take into consideration and think, okay, I should avoid doing this with my profile, or I should do this with my profile? Can you share some of those things?
I'll certainly give it a go. So, a couple of thoughts. First impressions count for a lot. Yeah. So I don't know if people have, you've been to a business, you've been to a meeting, you've been to an event, you just met someone, and you say, I just don't like them.
Yeah.
Just don't like them. You're never going to do business with them.
Yeah.
May not be a rational assessment. That first impression is really important. So in terms of your profile and your activity on LinkedIn, think about, what's the first impression that's going to be most appealing to your potential customers. If they're conservative, work in professional services, classic one, you may have to adjust your profile and the impression you give out accordingly. When you say impression, do you mean visual impression or language that you use, or what's written as your bio, or we're taking a mix of all those things? Everything. Okay. The pictures you use. So on LinkedIn, you got your profile photo, your background header photo, the text in your summary. You can put in some sort of multimedia, some PDFs, some links to websites and stuff. It's all about the first impression people get, so that they think this person, they're similar to me, and therefore I like them a bit more. That's how humans work. When they meet someone new, I think it's two questions they tend to ask themselves: do I like this person, and are they good at what they do? It's like, do I trust them, and are they an expert in their field? That's what the profile should be conveying. The second thing, show you understand their problems. Benefits are great, but I think most people buy stuff because they have a problem, especially in business to business. Absolutely. So showing you understand their world. So in the text you write in your summary, has got to really show that they got to read it and think, Majid knows my problems. He really understands my world. He talks about it in the way I would talk about it. I therefore like him and trust him more, and see that the idea is planted in my head that he could be the kind of person that could solve a problem I have. Yeah. Okay. Moving on to messages. I recently, I'll use my own example. I recently noticed that LinkedIn has, I don't know how recent it is. I mean, it could have been a good 6 months now, or maybe longer. They've introduced the idea of when you're sending out a connection request, you can add a message with that. And I've recently been bombarded with people asking me to connect with them, but they've got a pitch in there as well. So here's the thing. I'll get people asking me if I'd like to connect with them because they think they have solutions to challenges that I have, or they've assumed that I have. And would I like to connect with them so that they can continue the discussion? Now, here's the thing. For me, I would rather somebody make the connection just to say I'd like to network and whatnot and build a relationship before shoving down their offerings. Because if I receive that message, I'm less likely or less inclined to accept the connection if the motive from the beginning is only to sell to me. It's like networking in real life. At Pathway2Gow, we've got loads of networking events. And one of the most common single, I suppose, best pieces of advice people give who are the real networkers and networking connoisseurs is that when you're networking, don't try and sell to the people in the room. Right? To build a relationship, you'd rather meet people regularly, strike a conversation, talk about what's important to them, and talk about what you do, but without shoving your services and products down the throat. Because if they like you, then not only will they end up buying if they need you, even if they don't need you, because they like you, they'll introduce somebody else to you because they think that you're good at what you do and they like you. So it's not just that person who's in the room, who's a potential prospect, but you've got hundreds of other people in the room who may become the salespeople for you, for your products and services. So when it comes to messaging, is there any angle you would advise to go down? What kind of? I've seen some very interesting, questions or conversations being struck on LinkedIn in the introduction, or the first message that I get through. That I think, hang on, that's a very soft way of striking a conversation. It's very good. In your experience, what's the best way of striking up a conversation on social media, LinkedIn, without being salesy? Yeah, good question. I'd go with, there's 2 or 3 things that personally I'd go with, and I think they tie into what is the objective in the early stages of any sales activity or prospecting activity, which I think really is kind of a separate thing from selling. Yeah. So first is establish the minimum amount of rapport necessary to have a actual conversation. Yeah. And then if your prospect is to establish whether that person could be a potential customer, just even theoretically, if you sell to lawyers, are they a lawyer? That's a silly, a basic example, but it's a good example. And then could they theoretically fit into the kind of person that might be a customer of yours? In terms of your LinkedIn, and then you're going to try and see, are they open to having a chat about, some of the areas in their business that maybe you have a solution to. Probably can't help them at this stage. You don't know anything about them. Are they open to just having a chat? And that's why the bonding and rapport is so important. So in terms of LinkedIn, 2 things I'd recommend: compliments and questions. So, a compliment. Yeah. Everyone I know is vulnerable to a bit of flattery. Yeah. Appreciates flattery. Yeah. Look at your profile, find something interesting, find something you agree with. Yeah. In the connection request message, hi Majid, like the article that you wrote about XYZ. Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah. Think you're absolutely right. Or, I saw that you said this in your profile, or I saw you used to do this. Yeah. I think you're really a genius. Yeah, that's what you're really saying to me, though. So commonly it builds rapport, and the second one is a question. Yeah. So I would tend to go as a general rule of thumb. You want to ask a question that reveals their opinion, not about your products and services, but about the area that your products and services cover. Okay. So, for example, I don't know. If you're, let's say you're a currency trader, you might want to ask people a question that shows what you're talking about when it comes to currency and exchange rates, and also if they respond, is likely to reveal something that gives where they show they've got an emotional connection. Yeah. So, one example I might use with the LinkedIn training that I did, like, hi so-and-so, a bit of rapport, really like XYZ on your profile. Yeah. A lot of people say that LinkedIn's getting way too much like Facebook. Do you think they're right, or is there any way it's still useful for business? So they're either going to say, yeah, I agree, way too much like Facebook, total waste of time. Maybe they're then sort of cutting themselves out because they're not interested, or they actually wish that it could be useful for business, but they just don't know how. So they're showing and revealing that they've got some kind of emotional involvement. Or they'll say, no, not too much like Facebook. I love LinkedIn. They're quite likely to want to have a conversation about it as well. Yeah. If they've got no opinion either way, life can be a bit more difficult to start a conversation. Sure. And by leading with a kind of a negative, almost opinion of your own products or services, like LinkedIn, it's a bit of a waste of time, isn't it? You're lowering the perception that it's a sale, and it isn't a sale because it's just a chance to strike up a conversation, establish rapport, and see if there's any value in a further chat. Yeah. In your quest as a salesperson to get to the truth. The initial truth being, is it feasible I could help this person or not? And if the answer is no, say your desire to help the world is best spent somewhere else. Yeah, that's fair. And that nicely ties in, I guess, with the expertise, the demonstration of expertise. You could, I guess, do that through messaging. You mentioned a very good example of currencies. So if you look at a person's profile and you think, okay, these guys are doing international trade, for example, and I'm providing a service where they can trade internationally using our services with the money transfer or exchange process as being of a lower rate, then I can say, or if I know a bit about the company, I can say,
given what's happened in the recent times, or the recent inflation, or deflation, whatever the case might be, and the rates having changed from this to this, have you considered looking at alternatives as to what other options are out there, and is that something I can help you with? Do you think? If it is, then we can have a conversation, or I can send you information. Striking up a conversation. You're demonstrating expertise by knowing their industry, knowing the currency rates, knowing the current news about what the inflation rate is and that kind of thing, right? I guess expertise. You would also have articles, I suppose.
Yeah. So it's this idea. Your how much you earn, and the level of your expertise in sales is generally dictated by the questions you ask, not the statements you make. Insightful questions show what you're talking about, 100%. And they make everything about the other person, which, and they feel a lot more comfortable.
So now we have built a rapport, or we've made a connection with somebody, with a prospect. We've organized a conversation, or we've started off with a telephone conversation, and we decided, okay, now it's time to possibly meet and discuss this in a bit more depth. Now, in preparation for a face-to-face meetings, what do you do?
What do I do? So are we talking about from LinkedIn? Or are we just in general? Moving on from LinkedIn, okay. Just face-to-face meetings in general.
Any face-to-face meeting. I mean, I'm trying to link this in.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
I like it.
Okay. We'll link this in from LinkedIn. Lead generation, moving on to making the appointment and having a meeting. We're going into this meeting now. How do you prepare for the meeting?
Great. So just a few thoughts, and I never understood this, and I wish I'd understood it a lot earlier. So, if you're in sales and just life in general, your time is your most valuable commodity. You can always make more money. Can't get back the time.
Sure.
So the worst thing you can do if you're in sales or business is go to a pointless meeting. It is a waste of everyone, including your personal time. So the first thing I'd do is ask myself, am I absolutely clear about why we're having this meeting, and do they agree? Not, and the answer should be not, they're having this meeting to find out about my products and services and how I can help them. It needs to be absolutely clear, mutually agreed. Why is this meeting taking place, and what's going to happen at the meeting? And is it stuff that could not be tackled over the phone? People's time is valuable. Your time is valuable. So the first thing I would do to prepare for the meeting is make sure that we know exactly why this meeting is taking place. That people have they've got to be clear about what they're getting into. Because the worst thing you do is you turn up to the meeting, you think you're going to do this big presentation and wow them, and in their head they're just having the meeting to have a bit of chat, find out about you, do a bit of networking, and they're not expecting to take a decision or spend some money, or there's a disconnect. So that would be the first thing I'd always make sure had been established.
Okay. So we get to the meeting. We've established why we're there in the first place. There's obviously a big difference between the different selling styles. From my experience, I've often come across people who have said to me, I'm good at sales. I'm very good at sales. And they may well have been. But sometimes there's a bit of a tunnel vision with them, and the approach is very narrow, where people feel that having been good at selling one thing is the same as selling anything else. Where there's a different structure, possibly a different approach that needs to be taken. The most common thing being the tell sell. A lot of people get succumbed into this tell sell mode, where
meaning when you say
telling people why they should buy, telling people this is our product, this telling people about the features, benefits, and all the other things. That's the tell sell. So I'm sitting here talking to you about how great we are, how we've done some wonderful things. I'm selling this cup, and I can say, look, this is made of a certain material, and it's long lasting. We give you a lifetime. It's the features, the benefits, what the benefit is for you. I'm not really letting you do much of the talking. And in fact, trying to wow you. So So a lot of people still feel that that's selling.
Yeah.
And it was, I think, up until about 15, 20 years ago. And if you haven't moved on from there, then you're going to be in serious trouble, because that's not selling anymore.
No.
What do you feel is, or when you're talking to potential business owners who are going into face-to-face meetings and you're having these conversations, what is the approach you would adopt in having a face-to-face conversation once you're in that conversation? It's a big, broad question.
Broad question, hard, you know, I mean, fundamentally, it's the same two things that are always the goal, I think, of good sales is get to the truth and get a decision. So that decision may be a no. Yeah. It may be a yes, or it may be
a maybe.
Well, yeah, it might be. We need to have another meeting. Yeah. What I would suggest, and I, you know, again, it's one thing I never understood. As a salesperson, the worst thing you can get is to think about it, because that is a lie. Everyone knows it's a lie, consciously or subconsciously. It is a lie. It's always a lie. It's not the truth. Now, if they say, and it's agreed, like, this was great, we need to have another meeting in a week or a month or 6 months so we can decide this, this, and this, that's a useful, viable next step that can be discussed. There's something concrete, it's agreed, it's in both of your diaries. That represents a truth in some sense. You know, it's a decision, and it's clear, and it's mutually agreed. You got to think it over. You failed to get a decision. You failed in the two main objectives of sales: get to the truth and get a decision. So the other thing that I found helpful, I'll just throw out there in case people find it useful, is this idea that I always thought that in sales your goal is to try and influence the outcome, try and influence people that they say yes.
Exactly. This is a very important point. Yeah.
Whereas actually, conceptually, I think the role of a professional salesperson, someone that sees it as a craft and a skill, is to control the process and let the potential customer choose the outcome.
Absolutely.
You know, we as salespeople, we can't take a better decision for the potential customer than the potential customer
themselves.
Can.
Yes.
You know,
exactly. I think a very, very important point here is a lot of people talk about building rapport with the prospect. I'm not always in agreement with that. I don't think you should always build a good rapport with a customer. And my selling style is very counterintuitive. Yeah. And a lot of people who have seen me in action will tell you this. Because here's the thing. Sales is a leadership role. Selling is a leadership role. Yeah. If you're not leading in the sales conversation, not forcefully leading, but even you're not leading the conversation in the direction it needs to go, and there has to be a structure in your mind as to how you're going to get there, then you've lost that conversation in the first place. You're no longer in control. The problem is, once we start to build a rapport, too much of a rapport with a prospect, we lose the ability to take leadership. Yeah. So if I'm talking to you as a prospect, and I'm talking to you on a note, and we're talking about having a general conversation, and I'm trying to build a rapport with you, and you're talking about something, and I'm agreeing with you. I go, yeah, Tom, that's really good. Yeah, high fives and all that. It's almost as though I'm trying to impress you, and it's that mindset of a person thinking that if they're going to have to sell to you, they have to impress you. We need to shift away from that, especially in consultative selling. Consultative style is that's what it is. It's actually consultative. You're coaching the prospect to derive to a decision based on questions you ask and the decisions they make, or based on the answers they give. So one of the things which I've noticed is people still have this mindset of trying to impress the prospect. Actually, I would advise against being so personal, because if you're going to be very personal or get even to somewhat being personal with a prospect, you lose the ability to control or lead the conversation. Sales is a leadership role.
I like that. That's a great idea. And I think I certainly got confused by this idea that, you know, you want to be liked. It's important that people like you. Rapport building, people do business with people they like. And I think the reality is people do business with people they trust. Now, trust and likability are related, but they're not the same thing.
Absolutely.
So a great example, you know, people telling the truth can often make you very unpopular.
Yes.
People don't like you. It's like the classic. Someone will say, what's that? Does my bum look big in this? Maybe the last thing you want to do is tell the truth. You're going to hurt people's feelings, but your job in sales is to help people get to the truth. Yes. It's not to be liked, but it's to be trusted. Yes. So there's like a minimum viable amount of rapport is enough to have an honest and frank discussion.
Absolutely.
And that may make you unpopular.
Absolutely.
So one of my favourite sort of an expression is that we can do two types of meeting here. We can do a nice meeting, talk about the weather, the World Cup. Yeah. Probably end by you asking me to send you in some information. Yeah. And that's fine. And then maybe we'll sort of hear from each other over the coming weeks, and I'll follow up and I'll chase you and that, or we can have a serious meeting, and I might have to ask you a lot of quite tough questions. Are you going to be okay with that? Yeah. And get it out of the way early, because there's no better way to demonstrate trust than asking questions even that maybe work against you.
Exactly.
I'm outrageously expensive. Or whatever it is, or I'm not going to be particularly friendly to work with. I'm going to get you the result. Yeah, but you're not going to like me. Yeah, you're probably going to hate me. But you will get the result. Exactly. Whatever it is establishing that honesty. Absolutely, and trust.
I think again, we need to be clear that it depends on what you're selling. When it's tangible products like this, when it's something when it's something that you can touch, you can feel, you can smell, the style can be a little bit different. Yeah. But when you're selling a solution-based sales, or a consultancy service, or something which you can't see, it's intangible, then the approach has to be very different. And language plays a very important role in that. And we can one of the most common questions I get is from business coaches and consultants who ask me, well, I'm trying to unearth the problems within the business so that we can fix them, but they're not opening up to me. Yeah. And a lot of people will have heard me, who are connected with me, will have seen possibly a video of me before where I explained the difference between using the word problem and using the word challenge. Okay, because you can ask the same question using different words. Yeah. Linguistics goes a long way in sales, but unless you're conscious of that, you're not really going to understand the impact of your words. I'm just quickly checking up on time. Yeah. We usually do this for about 40 minutes. And I've realized we're at 5 minutes now, 43 minutes now.
Time flies.
Yeah, and we've still got so much more to get through. But before we do that, guys, if you have any questions, do you have any questions, Brad?
We've got a couple, but
okay. Okay, brilliant. So if you have any questions, by the way, this is Tom Mallens. If you've only recently joined us, Tom is a fellow sales professional, and if you haven't guessed already, we're having a sales conversation and a conversation about selling. So we will be giving you more information in a few more minutes about how to get in touch with us, or find out more about what Tom does and anything that you want from him. But we'll continue with this conversation. So the business coach and consultant might say, I'll walk into a prospect and in a meeting with a prospect, and the prospect, I'm trying to find out what the problems are, but they won't tell me. See, the use of the word problem in itself is a problem, because you're asking the person, what's the problem? And that's insinuating, we're talking NLP a bit here as well now, with presuppositions. Yeah. You're insinuating that they've not done something right, or they've failed at something. Nobody likes to be accused of failing, or likes to be failure, or likes to have done something wrong. But if you use the word, so what are the challenges we're facing? Now, here's the difference between saying, what are the challenges you're facing, and what are the challenges we're facing? I've used the word we. I'm including myself with you now. So there's that connection being built psychologically. So these are very interesting little things that we use in sales just to build that connection, but respectably, rather than having to go overboard to try and build a rapport which is fake. Because you see people paying fake compliments, right? Yeah. And you'll see maybe a dog walking in, into the room, and you'll say, "Oh, how cute is this dog?" And you actually hate dogs, you know what I mean? You can tell. Or you support Man United, and you say, "Oh, Man United, when you're not really a fan of Man United." But just giving you an example. So authenticity and ethics, these are very key elements grounded within the sales profession, in my opinion, which for some sales professionals doesn't come very obviously, because they feel that the objective is to get the sale, to close the deal. ABC, always be closing. That kind of stuff. And that's just very sometimes superficial or boiler room style.
Yeah, it is. But the thing, and I think I was the what's the word? I was fascinated by the opposite of that, because I've experienced times when I felt as a buyer under a lot of pressure. The person was, but also felt as a seller. I don't want to have the opposite problem, whereas that I feel completely powerless in this.
Absolutely.
I don't know where it's going. I don't have the tools to guide it towards the truth, and the tools, like you said, to lead the conversation to helping that person take a decision. That's in their interests, and that leads to a win-win outcome. So yes, don't want to be pressure, always be closing. But I think certainly I've met people that have the opposite problem, which is that they sort of sit there and they just try and be so nice that the person wants to do business with them.
Yes.
Exactly.
And trying to impress them.
Exactly, like you said, trying to impress them so much that they get their wallet out.
Well, this is the thing, coming back to, because from door-to-door sales, I went into consulting, selling consulting services. In between, I've done, sold things like courses for Microsoft and Cisco and network engineering stuff, and life-changing kind of pathways. A lot of puns coming out there, but here's the thing: the approach has always been different. Even having won, the accolades of being the best sales performer or perform the best in sales in the country in specific industries, I got to certain stages of selling certain things where I was told, we're better off getting somebody new who hasn't sold, because you're going to come in with some old habits. What you've learned thus far may have been good, and you may have been, the mutts nuts. But we need you to wipe your memory clean of all that. What we're going to teach you here is something completely different. And this is what actually happened to me. Even having won all those awards and, won a lot of these accolades in sales, when I got to this one specific area of selling, going into consultative selling, I literally had to forget all that, because what they were teaching me is not the tell-sell. They were teaching me something, even though working with British Telecom, for example, we were going through a structure with the pitch. You got the introduction, some kind of a presentation, asking questions. You were still asking questions, and there's the importance of asking questions. What kind of questions there would be? We would try tie up what your average order value is, and worth, you tally that against what the investment would be in buying advertising space with the BT phone book, and how this can still benefit you. You only need one order to cover the value of this and all that. But when you got to this side of things, it was completely the opposite. You're not going to do any of the talking here now. You're going to do a bit of the talk at the beginning. The rest of the time, you're going to have to ask some very, very intelligent questions. And there's a structure to asking these questions. And I got to that. That was like spin selling on steroids. So, I was like, wow, opened my mind to a lot of different things. And believe you me, I mean, some of the stuff that I've had to, get involved in terms of selling. Over in the Middle East, for example, I was involved in talking to the client on a mega project, mega construction, worth multi-billions of pounds. And that style had to be completely different. I couldn't walk in and say, right, these are the features, these are the benefits. It just wasn't going to work. But tying in this lead generation to having the conversation to going into the meeting has all been very, very valuable, Tom. So I really thank you for that, because I mean, we all have a lot of learning to do, ongoing learning. And LinkedIn, or not just LinkedIn, all social media platforms are always changing. We know about Facebook algorithms changing the way they show different things. And it's amazing how we have to keep re-educating ourselves at top of our learning, and learning different.
It's an interesting point, because if you're a lawyer or a doctor, you have to do a certain amount of continuous professional development. If you're in sales, it's like, here's a phone, here's some business cards. Go and do your stuff. There's barely any training in the first place, let alone this idea that it should be. It's a skill that helps society. Every business relies on sales. It's a skill that you can get really good at, and one that you should practice continuously, because we're dealing with the human condition. This is a thing of infinite mystery. So there's an awful lot of stuff to learn, you know.
Ladies and gents, selling
surface.
isn't just about selling into businesses and prospects. Sell to your wife, sell to your husband. You can sell to anyone. You can sell to your kids, and I do it all the time with my kids. I sell things to them, concepts,
concepts,
and they buy
ideas.
into an idea, and that's it. I'm done. Yeah. And that's the way things work. You know, selling isn't just, when we're referring to selling skills or sales skills, it's not just about influencing, but it's also about communicating in a manner which is beneficial to both parties, as you put earlier on this evening. So we hope that has been of some value, and certainly I feel it has been. We're going to get the questions of our lovely assistant. More comments and questions. Okay, brilliant. Connor says, telling the truth can be brutal, but it's a necessary tool in sales. Absolutely. Thanks, Connor.
Yeah.
Dion, who might Dion be? Dion says, rapport can mean different things dependent on your sales philosophy. I agree. I don't disagree with that at all.
No.
Team P2G says, LinkedIn, ? Funniest joke ever, Majid.
We did the LinkedIn.
Okay, LinkedIn.
Nice.
Thank you. Connor says, I always tell people time can be your best friend or your worst enemy, and it's my best friend. Good point. Dion says about cancelling pointless meetings. This principle has helped me save so much time, and tell sells. It's telling, not selling. Absolutely. That's exactly what it is, Dion. So, you know, it's obvious you guys have that synergy. So, Dion and Tom, but thank you very much for your comments, guys.
Yeah, thank
you.
Really
appreciate it. If you have any more questions after watching this video, because obviously this is going to be broadcasted out or uploaded over to YouTube and different platforms. If you're watching this not live but at a later stage, do feel free to put your comments or your questions in the comments section. You can tag Tom in, and then Tom will obviously answer your questions. If it's for myself, you can tag me in, and I can answer your questions. Now, as you can appreciate, we've been going for almost an hour. So I think it's 53 minutes, not 54 minutes. We usually do this for about half an hour, 40 minutes. So when it comes to sales, we're on fire. We just can't stop. So, but hopefully that has been of some value to everybody. We have some things coming up in the pipeline where you might want to get involved. Tom, do you have any events coming up, by the way? Any events coming up that you might want to tell people about? Your contact details, if people want to contact you.
Yeah, easiest place to get me is on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Tom Mallens, Mallens. You can get me on Facebook or Messenger as well. Events, we do a regular event in Birmingham called Break the Rules and Close More Deals. So for anyone interested in kind of counterintuitive ways of selling, get in touch. I'll send you the details.
Excellent. Fantastic. So when's the next one?
Next one is 11th of July, which is a Tuesday afternoon.
Brilliant. So 11th of July, Tuesday afternoon. If you're interested in that, then, you know, feel free to hook up with Tom, get in touch with him, get in contact with him, and message him and build that connection, or even depending on how you define it. We also I'm running a masterclass in September based on my forthcoming book, which I'm writing on consultative selling. So if anyone's interested, but this class is going to be restricted. It's not going to be open to everybody. It's for people only who are within the compliance industry or consulting industry. So because the style of selling is going to be very similar. I don't want to just deliver something generic that you don't walk away with much value. It's going to be very value. It's a full day event at the Resorts World. So if you're interested, again, drop me a message. We'll send you more details of that. It's going to be in September. Or just head over to majidwaris.com. I'm sure Brad will put the links in the description, in the comment section. So for now, that will be the end of our conversation. Thank you very much for coming down, Thomas. I think we'll probably end up having another.
We'll probably be here for another hour.
Yeah, exactly. Just to continue with these, it's always good and interesting to hear different views and different ways of dealing with things. Our next P2G Live is going to be with the magnificent Justice Williams, MBE, who is a multi-award winner in her own right. So look out for that, and that's going to be next month. I think, is it the 18th? 18th, Wednesday, the 18th of July. So look out for that. In the meantime, we hope this has been of some value. Again, if you want to get in touch, if you have any questions or if you have any comments, drop them, tag us in, and we'll be happy to answer them for you. Otherwise, have a good night, and it's a good night from us. Have a good night.